Hello and welcome to Frank's School. Well, I hope I have you watching James Burke's The Day the Universe Changed. His first episode, 44 minutes long, is called The Way We Are. And I'd ask you to stop at about the 20th minute. Well, a couple of things, and I might strike things off to show that I cover them. Schwer was spelled wrong, German word. It was up there, it's not important. The world as a playground. Well, you're going to see that James Burke, the way he put this documentary together, he will jump all over the world, just like that. Like the world is his playground. Now that's pretty tricky to put together something like that. You think about all the traveling that he had to do. Maybe I'll show you as we go down through this. Now I wanted to, my dog's playing with the cat. One of the things that I maybe have mentioned already, but his visual transitions are so tricky. Sometimes I think maybe too tricky, because you can be dazzled by his style, and you might lose sight of the message, possibly, I don't know. But as an example, he's going to go from that little sculpture about the Greeks, that set of, I don't know what to call it, that model, and jump to a telescope, a radio telescope construction. Now that's the same kind of construction that was used in the Eiffel Tower. And his point is going to be about questioning, looking out into space, trying to question what we got from the Greeks. Well, he's going to touch on the Industrial Revolution. That's where that kind of construction came from, cutting metal like that. The Eiffel Tower is an example of that. And here he's in England. He was in Greece, and then he was in England. That radio telescope, I'm pretty sure, is in England. Then he discusses coordinates from the 15th century. The way you use coordinates to locate something. He goes on then to saying that questioning has been institutionalized in the Western world. We question. That's the way we are. We look for answers. And then he says we keep answers, and they accumulate, these answers that we've kept. There's a contrast, maybe I'll say it later, there's a tension in the Western world, according to him, between a desire for change and a worry about how that change could disrupt order. Some play may break out with the cats and the dogs talk about disorder. And so questioning is institutionalized, and we have universities that are in that business, but they also test, and they want to keep things the same and make sure their students have learned what is already known. I ended up thinking about my own career when I was at Harvard. I may have misunderstood that whole time. I was understanding that I was learning in order to be able to find out new stuff. And, when I think about it, various tests I took, I think maybe very often I was supposed to just rattle back what I had been taught. And I didn't always do that. A lot of times I put in questioning. I don't know. Well, but anyway, education tends to be a very conservative institution, and in law even more so, very, very conservative. And it's something that I think I was, even in my teaching career, so over 30 years that I taught, I maybe didn't appreciate how education was about getting kids so that they are the same and not getting them so that they're ready to go out and learn new things. I don't know, I hadn't better go on to that. He talks about Mavericks. Mavericks can be a problem. A maverick shakes things up. There might be a class vocabulary word. You might not know what that is. It has to do with a calf, I think, that doesn't fit in with the herd. A maverick. It's a tension that's there. He goes on to Nepal. Now, all right, now here he's been, I don't know where he was there, but now he jumps to Nepal, the other part of the world, and he shows that by contrast. There is a culture that is not really Greek. Of course, modern-day Nepal may be changing. The Western culture has been spreading throughout the world very, very fast. But he shows that. Next thing you know, he's in a research lab, probably in California, and where so much money is destined to try to find something new. That's what it's about, all about looking to find new things. And he talks about marketing, whether the market will accept a change, whether they're going to like a change. I feel here that he leaves out the role of advertising, because I've been convinced that ever since I think I read a book called The Hidden Persuaders back in the 1960s, that we are taught what we're supposed to like through advertising. Advertising is a very, very influential thing. And so if you have something to market, whether or not it's advertised and how it's advertised makes a huge difference. But he doesn't really go into that, I don't think. And then the computer chip. Those guys crawling around on the floor, they're designing a computer chip, and the next thing you know, he has a computer chip on his fingertip. And here, now this is 1985, and in a way I think he saw, I've been struck with how little has changed in those 30 years since 1985. How with that computer chip so much could change, and he deals with the infrastructure. And at this point, this is when he's standing in front of the Golden Gate Bridge, I think he's in California at this point, jumping all around. And I said to myself, is James Burke a decentralist? He poses the question, what would happen with the power of this if, he doesn't use the word decentralist, but cities would become not so useful. And he doesn't talk about homeschooling. In my experience, it was in the 1980s that homeschooling became available. Maybe it was available before that. But you think about homeschooling with a computer chip, with this class that I'm teaching, with you watching Burke. You don't have to have school buses. You don't have to have these big schools with their gymnasiums. The education system could be decentralized. But he doesn't go into that. Well, I'd ask you to stop at let me see here, the 37th minute, about right there. That's where I would ask you to stop. And it already makes a pretty full class period, I think. And I will give the link. I didn't give the link last time. I'll give the link, so you've always got it there in the description. All right. Well, the dog hasn't fought with the cats yet, so we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll be back to class vocabulary tomorrow.